Good day everyone, so Kirara Strip Marketing has been released by Hoyo. She seems to be a 4-star Dendro user that's going to come in 3.7. We're still not sure if she is a 4-star or not, but hey, that's not going to stop us from making up some abilities for her. So obviously there is no information on her kit at the moment, but I thought, well, let's have a bit of fun and craft a skill set for her that would enable her to be a dedicated Nilou support. Now obviously I want to sort of take a bit of inspiration from Honkai's Pas de Felis, which I'll just put up on screen right now, because obviously that is the sort of de facto cat girl in that game, and it's obviously one of Hoyo's other titles. And the idea, as you can see on screen, is that you attack really, really fast with your normals, you leave behind a sort of little crown on the field, and then you've got an ultimate which just unleashes a big giant cat that rains down on all the enemies. So with that sort of as a bit of background context, let's see how we can Genshinify this sort of like concept and sort of make Kirara a dedicated Nilou support. So this is what I have on screen for you. So for her abilities, I assume she'll be a sword user, and she'll just do sort of the normal sort of standard attacks with a somersault charge attack, I think being very apt for a sort of cat girl like character. Where things get interesting are obviously the E and the Q ability, so her elemental skill ability will be 18 seconds, and what I've had in mind is something like this where she casts away a sword like Dea, and then she just attacks the enemies with Dendro infused claws for 5 seconds. She gains a 24% attack speed bonus for about 3 seconds. And here's where things get really interesting. After hitting opponents 10 times, including enemy shields and so on, she will leave a Neko crown at her position, and what this crown does is emit a pulse of Dendro every 1.5 seconds for 12 seconds, with 1 unit of Dendro being applied and no ICD. I know some people might not like that, but I think that'll be suitable. And obviously you can get 1 particle per pulse, and this pulse will not emit if Kirara is the active character. So this is what I think could be her E ability, and for her Q ability things will get even more interesting. So basically, as taken from Honkai, we want her to unleash a giant cat, or like some sort of cat that just like expands and deals AoE Dendro damage. Be quite cool. And after her elemental burst is released, all of your party members, excluding Kirara, not Kiara, oh, my bad spelling here, but excluding her, will get the following effect. So if you have 3 Hydro units and Kirara on the team, then nearby party members will gain 2.5 energy every 2 seconds for the next 6 seconds. If you've got 2 Hydro units and 2 Dendro units on the team, then you'll gain the energy recharge effect, plus all of your party members, excluding of course Kirara, will have a 1 second cooldown reduction on the elemental burst every 1 second for the next 5 seconds. And then finally, if you've only got 1 Hydro unit and 3 Dendro units on the team, then all of the aforementioned effects will apply, and additionally you will get a 2-second CD reduction on your elemental skill every 2 seconds for the next 6 seconds. So this would be how I would design her as a character. Remember, we're designing a 4-star character's kit, so the damage and all the scalings on all these things is not really going to be that high. So for her passives, I want her to be a bonus Dendro percentage scaling character. For instance, Kokomi is Hydro, she scales with Hydro bonus. Kirara would be like equivalently a Dendro bonus scaling character. So at level 90, she'll have 24.4%, I believe, of Dendro. And her first Ascension passive will be very simple. For every 1% bonus damage Dendro percentage she has, we will increase her EM by 3. Her fourth Ascension passive here will be as follows. If you cast an elemental burst, Kirara will give all your nearby party members, including herself, a 1% Dendro damage resistance for every 5% bonus Dendro percentage she has. And then obviously a bit of a fun one for the overworld. When she is the active character and you move around, you can get near wildlife without scaring them off unless you capture one in the vicinity. So that's what I would sort of think her passives would be. And now obviously here comes the constellations, where things can get really, really fun as we get up to the C6, which is going to be a signature ability. So obviously Constellation 1, she just gives herself a bit of extra energy after casting an elemental burst. So this is used to offset the 80 cast burst that we've got there. Her E ability at C2 will be granted a hold effect, so what this then allows you to do is to hold the button and then she'll immediately summon a Neko Crown without needing to damage enemies with her attacks. At C4, you can have that her Neko Crown can now also emit a pulse if she is the active character, so you can now pulsate Dendro sort of damage, and also with her Dendro infused sort of claw, she can also then attack some of the enemies and so on. I think we should probably make it clear that once you press the hold effect, you will still gain the sort of Dendro infused claws whilst putting down the crown. So I think I should probably just make that clearer, but something to that effect would be quite cool. And then obviously finally her C6 ability, which is going to be very, very tailor-made for Nilou. It specifically says here, if the party contains Nilou and everyone is under the Golden Chalice effect, then the damage calculated from Bountiful Cause is based on the EM of the party member with the highest EM, and additionally, for as long as the Golden Chalice effect is in play, all party members gain an additional 10% Dendro resistance. So this would be quite an interesting way of supporting Nilou, I think. I think there's quite a bit of Dendro application, obviously with the crown and the infused normals and the little big cat that's being unleashed on the enemies. So obviously she's not going to provide that much in terms of additional sort of Dendro, application, but I think all of her other utilities can actually give your team a much smoother time as they rotate through all of their abilities, as well as giving the team a bit of armor against the increased sort of Dendro core damage. Obviously with her C6 you gain a massive boost, because it means you can build a very dedicated unit, probably Nahida or someone else, to just sort of really focus on the EM, and then that character's EM is going to be used to obviously increase the damage overall. So it's then not going to depend on who applies the Dendro or the Hydro, and that's, I think, what would make her a very, very fun and interesting support. It would change some of the dynamics and just give Nilou teams that sort of uplift. So this is why I had to be a bit more generous with, not generous, I'm a bit more what can you call it, strict with some of the other abilities and so on. But yeah, I think this would, as an ability, would fit really, really nicely with the way Hoyo wants to do things. So most characters don't really, 4-star characters don't really do anything unless they've got their C2, and then obviously their C6 is very, very niche and it supports one very, very strong character. So let me know what you think of this. Do you like this idea or concept? Are there any things you'd like to change? This is just what I think would be really, really awesome. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Cheers.